All right, yesterday we started drawing our animals onto our final copy paper, and I showed you how to do it upside down. I'm just going to remind you again. If your paper goes this direction, the first thing that you want to do is fold your photo in half twice to make it into 4 parts. If you can't tell where those folds are, you can darken them with your pencil. Most of the time, you can usually see right where they are. And then you're going to take your final copy paper and your photo, both, and you're going to turn them upside down. The reason for this is so that the left brain, right brain thing won't confuse you, and you'll be forced to use the creativity to see the real shapes. The other thing I want you to focus on is looking for negative shapes. So if I'm working on this part, okay, you can see this is my photo, it's upside down. This is my drawing, this is also upside down. These are facing the same way as each other. I'm going to fold this paper so the only thing I can see is that square that I'm working on. Now I can tell that I already have some things over here, so I know this line keeps going in here so that it'll match. When I draw the furry parts, I want to make the lines kind of mimic the texture of that fur. Okay, so I can see in this part that there's kind of a basic shape that does this. Okay, this shape kind of comes down and out and around, and then like that kind of does this little shape right here, see? And so I'm looking at that, but then I also want to get the texture of this fur, and I can see there's some detail right here in the corner. Try to make the proportions the same as what you see. Okay, so I can see there's like this little line there, and there's some kind of furry texture that goes in a half circle right there. And then there's some long kind of lines that come out this way. Pretty sure those are whiskers, but don't try to think of what they are, okay? Don't get too confused on that part of it, because then the whole upside down thing is not going to be worth it. You really want to think about what you're doing. Okay, so this part right here is dark and this part is light. So I want to kind of show the edge between the dark and the light right there. And yeah, I'm not really sure what all this is, but I definitely don't want that solid line. Sorry about the wiggliness of this camera. I don't want that line to be solid right there. I want it to look like this. Okay, so there's a little right there, a little right there, and then there's this dark kind of area that comes in here. I'm not gonna worry about the darks and the lights yet. I am gonna worry about that in a little bit. So we're just gonna erase the straightness of that line and make it furry. And then there's a dark area there. Okay, now let's go to the next square, which is this one. So now that makes sense what this was. It was part of her mouth, and then her nose is gonna be right here. Now, if you get a really complicated square like this, the other thing you can do to make sure your proportions are right is make another another grid on this part. So that you can see where things go. So if I do that here and then I do that here too, then I know that her ear is in this square, chicka, chicka, chicka. And then it kind of starts to go into that one. And then this is kind of, oh, that lines up with that. That makes sense. Okay. And then do the big things first, you guys. Do the big shapes first. And then you can worry about the little stuff. Now let's try to get her face. If I put a dot in the middle there, then I know her eye is right there. The dot in the middle also helps you guys with placements. Okay, now this eye is a little higher than that eye. It's also a little bigger than that eye. So be careful when you're drawing your animal that you look for proportions and shapes and things like that too. Okay, I just want to try and quickly get this done because I also want to show you how to start coloring your animal today. But let's just get this part done. Okay, that nose is much smaller than I originally thought. It's only this small. And then she's got some white. I can kind of draw lines around the white areas and the dark areas so that we can start to get her features in here too. Because she's a calico, she's got different colored fur. Okay, that may or may not be perfect. We can always fix things when we turn it back around the other way. Okay, now we're gonna do this one. And that has the rest of her ear. And I bet you there's a little bit of this is actually at the edge of her eye there too. And then she's got this little shika right there. And then she's got, so if I look at the shape of this negative space right here, look how it's very specific. Kind of goes up to there. There's, I don't really know if these are paws or tail or what this is, but now I'm gonna look at this shape right here and try to get that to be accurate. And that's gonna be that. Now let's open it up and turn it around and do finishing touches right side up. Okay, so there she is. She looks like her eyes are a little too big, so I'm gonna just slim those down a little bit. This eye is probably okay. And then she's got some whiskers that go out here. And those are her back legs, both of her back legs. Oh, I didn't kind of get her. So this part I'm kind of missing right there. And that's the basic shape of my animal. Now the next part is to start adding color and texture. And in order to do color and texture and to make it start to look real, you're going to need to choose some colored pencils that will match it and look for the dark things first. So we would do all this black first. If your animal is all one color, look for the darkest parts of your animal and do those things first, and then the rest of it. Don't be sad if, like, look at my kitty. Like, that kitty does not look exactly like that kitty, but it's okay because if I take this away and I just look at this, it does look like a kitty. I think this eye is still too big. But just make judgments about what needs to be changed. Look at it from a distance. Do a little distance check so that you can see what needs to be fixed to make it look like the animal that you want it to look like. And then you can start coloring. Always erase these grid lines before you start coloring, okay? So those need to be erased and then you can start your color.